Hello, everybody. This is the Complay Competent Podcast. My name is Doug, and this week we're going to be talking about Avengers Infinity War. We are working our way toward the end of this MCU in review series. This week, our beer is called the Gauntlet, because it works. The Gauntlet.
Nice.
It's by Kern River Brewing Company, which I'll talk about more at the end of the show, but I'll be drinking it out of the Gauntlet. I'll be drinking the Gauntlet from the Gauntlet. So we'll talk more about that. This week, I'd like to introduce my guests. Two guests this week. First video version with two guests. We got Kris over here for me and Adam down here. How you guys doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Got a lot to talk about. I think it'll be fun bouncing ideas off Kris, Doug. Hey, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, of course. Kris, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, I kind of feel like that question maybe was supposed to be answered by me, but I feel like Adam had that one. But I was glad to be back. And got to talk about this very intense movie.
I'm very excited. But first, I have question of the week, our new segment we're doing. So this question has nothing to do with anything about this movie, anything about comic books, anything about beer, whatever. This question is a question I heard today that I thought was too good to pass up. If you guys had to build a house out of cereal, what cereal are you going to use? I know what I'm doing, but I got to know what you guys are going to do. What was that?
Golden Grams.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
That's so easy.
Okay, why? I want to know why.
Why is Golden Grams?
Why Golden Grams and why Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Well, Golden Grams. All right, I can say I can say why Cinnamon Toast Crunch is definitely not the answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's a fluffier cereal, and it looks like it's a thicker foundation, but if you want to build 3-story, 4-story, it's gonna crumble. Golden Grams might be a little thinner, but it's more pressed. It's gonna give you a little more rigidity.
That's fair.
It's not as flexible, so maybe not like 5 stories. But I'm not looking for 5 stories. I think it's like 3, 4 at most. So yeah, I think Golden Grams is definitely the most significant answer. Little Cocoa Puffs with windows, maybe.
I was thinking Frosted Mini Wheats.
Oh,
that's a sturdy cereal. That's an
environmental answer, I think, honestly too, in the cereal world.
I thought I had time to think about this today. It's a good cereal.
It is.
All I need is a little Cinnamon Toast Cottage. I don't need multi levels. I don't need a mansion. I'll be fine in the woods with just a little, a 2x4, and we'll be chilling.
And an internet and your Cinnamon Toast
Cinnamon
Crunch.
Toast Crunch is great. Yeah, exactly.
And his RGB Rainbow Carnival PC.
Pour a little milk, grab a little spoon, you're good to go.
Okay, so I'm going to cut us off there because this movie is way too much to talk about. This is an insane movie. There's just, to even wrap your head around the way that they did this movie, we just got to start talking about it. But the first thing I want to say when it comes to this movie is, I know, Kris, this is your first time watching through this whole series, but the way I felt about it when I got here was, for a movie like this to have this many heroes and it not to feel at all like bogged down. For it to feel like very fluid and very natural. And the way I think about it is the way that Justice League had only like 5 heroes and it felt cluttered and way too much. And so I was thinking about the way Marvel was able to take like the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy and Doctor Strange and all these different groups, bring them together and make it work.
Yeah.
That was one thing I took away about it.
Yeah, honestly, coming as a newbie, as everyone kind of knows at this point, it was awesome. It was really cool to see all the culmination of a lot of characters, and that's one of the main things. Like I was talking to my roommate about, like, 'cause he knows that I'm watching these movies or whatnot, and he hears me watching them, all the sounds and clish and the clash and the bang and the bash and all that. First thing I tell him is, like, it's crazy because it's a lot of movies, a lot of movies you gotta watch beforehand, a lot of precursor.
Yeah.
And in a way that could, I guess, be a turnoff, or not maybe a turnoff, but just something that's kind of overwhelming. But it's like you watch this movie, and I think it's really comes together, and you see a lot of characters, and you're like, oh crap, you needed to see all those movies. You really did need to see every single one of those movies, like even the ones that maybe you weren't quote unquote as good as the other ones.
Thor: The Dark World.
I didn't want to say it. But you said it, and so I'll nod my head. And so yeah, it's like I just felt like the movies, like some of them that didn't have as much depth, they ended up having some depth in this movie.
Yeah.
Like that's how I felt. I mean, Adam, I don't know if you can like say a little different or.
Yeah, I to echo your point of how fluid the movie felt and not forced. As opposed to, I feel like the first Avengers movie, which they're like, oh, let's get everybody in with their little quips here. Everybody needs a line. Everybody's important. Everybody's hilarious.
Quirky line.
Here it's just it's the story, and everybody just kind of fits into it, I think, perfectly. And yeah, like you said, it's so much more important after seeing all of the past films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was gonna say one thing about this movie that I think I didn't really like notice fully until this watching was that this is not, in my opinion, not as much an Avengers movie as it is Thanos' origin movie.
Yeah, I can agree to that.
Because this movie is all about him, and you learn so much about his point. What I've said a million times on the show in the past, what makes him such a good villain is that you know what he's doing is evil, but he talks about it, and you're like, I see it, though. I get it.
Oh, thank God you said that, because I was sitting there like, am I an evil person for kind of, like, understanding this
you understand
this
it, exactly.
Yeah, like, it's a... I mean, one of the biggest notes I'd take, one of the thickest notes in bold lettering is just he's a very deep character.
Yeah,
he's a deep character. It's crazy. Like it's awesome, and it definitely feels like an origin story for him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and this movie opens up, and this takes place maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes after Thor Ragnarok leaves off, and you have his the children of Thanos, which is such a creepy thing. Because they're all weird aliens. You got Proxima Midnight, Ebony Maw, Corvus Glaive, and Cull Obsidian.
The minions?
Yes.
Yeah, which only two really matter. Only the Maw and
Little
Proxima
Bowser
Midnight.
Juniors?
Yeah.
Squidward.
But this movie opens up, and you have, the movie starts, and we lose. Loki's killed. Heimdall's killed. Half of Asgard is killed, and then the title comes up, and you're like...
We assume Thor's killed, too. We don't know about Thor,
exactly.
too, at that point, right? Yeah.
And then the title comes up, and I remember sitting in the theater at the premiere, looking at my girlfriend going, that was just the fucking intro! What is this movie gonna be? Like, that? We just lost two major characters, maybe three, and Thanos has 2 stones, and it's the first 10 minutes, and you're like, but the title just came up. What do you mean? That's left.
Yeah, I thought I missed the movie. Yeah. when I was like, wait, is this the right one? Is this the right Avengers I'm watching right now? He already has 2 of them.
Because before this movie came out, I was sitting there, and my thought process was the first one, because I knew it was going to be 2 parts. The first one's going to be him getting maybe 1 or 2 stones, and then the second one will be him getting the rest. No, he has the first 1 or 2 in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, immediately.
It's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way. I was just because I did watch Thor Ragnarok right before this, just to prepare for it, because I actually hadn't seen it before, so that was my first time through that. But yeah, you're thrown into it immediately. It kind of how I felt with Spider-Man, that we were kind of missing a lot. But no, I think that's just kind of the direction they go in, and they really throw you right into it to kind of, I think, disorient you a little bit, and so you're as shocked as everybody else in the movie.
Yeah, that's a good point, because they definitely control your perspective of what's going on in the universe. It's all calculated. You can definitely tell what the information that's given to you is calculated, right? There's a reason why there's cutscenes, sometimes 2 cutscenes after every single one of these Marvel movies, right?
Yeah.
It's they want to give you information that. And it's weird because obviously there's some information that's known because it's based off of comic books or whatnot, and it's just all right, there's some things that are gonna happen, but it's is it gonna happen here? Is it gonna happen? You don't really know too much, I guess, what's going on to it. So it's very interesting.
This also feels correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the only movies that directly leads from another one, because it feels like a lot of the rest of them, it's 5 months later, or it's a throwback to. Old Captain America, or, you definitely have time to recover from the last movie, but not here. You're just in the thick of it immediately.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which on the theatrical release, it came Thor Ragnarok, then Black Panther, then Infinity War. But if people who are new to the series, I think I told Kris this as well, I say you watch Ragnarok and Black Panther reverse. You watch Black Panther first, and then you watch Ragnarok, which will lead right into Infinity War.
Because, I didn't do that, actually.
Yeah, well, you were watching the way it was released, but I think as far as people who are new to this series, 'cause, I mean, if I saw it in theaters every year, so I was had all this time to think and contemplate. But when it's just going, you're watching one after another for the first time, it's just so much easier, I think, to lead in right through Ragnarok right to where this takes place. Mm-hmm. And one thing I do like about this movie, so after that, Hulk gets thrown into the Sanctum in New York, and meet Doctor Strange and Wong. But I think it's funny that all these characters that we followed through all these years, and we started to put together the Stones and Thanos. that they're just learning it for the first time, and we as an audience have kind of known like Thanos is going for the stones, but Tony Stark is learning who just the name Thanos in that scene for the first time.
Right.
What? Yeah, when the Hulk crashes down,
Yeah.
Or Bruce Banner crashes down into the sanctum, doesn't Doctor Strange like look at he goes Thanos is coming,
Yeah.
and then Doctor Strange is like, who?
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, all right, cool, because I was a little confused myself.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor
Yeah, Doctor
Strange. I didn't
Strange.
know.
Yeah, he just finished fighting Dormammu. I mean, now he's like, are you kidding me? Now somebody else wants the stone. Who is it?
And he has no idea what's dude. And his character is very, very interesting because he's like, of all the characters who kind of just are thrown into this Ring of Fire, he just seems like the newest addition.
Yeah.
Who doesn't. We don't really know if he wants to be part of this. We don't know. He just likes doing this and like kind of creepy. I was a little creepy. I'll be honest. When he started twisting his neck and stuff, I don't like that.
I think
got some exorcist vibes.
Speaking of that scene, I love I will get to this part in the movie, but when the Guardians mixing with them, I think was just perfect. And we have the Guardians mixing with Thor for a little bit, like, and it all felt so natural. And
Chris Pratt kills in this movie.
Yeah. I'm missing the word right now, but like when he meets Thor for the first time, it's just such a funny dynamic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a Bowflex. I'm gonna commit. I'm gonna get some dumbbells.
No one's listening to him. No one gets credit. Like, whatever, Star-Lord.
I love this too because I think this was a big movie of growing for Groot and Rocket.
Oh, Groot.
We get teenage Groot for the first time in this movie, which I love.
He's video game Groot.
Dude,
I love it.
It's so funny. It's like me with my Game Boy when I was like 14.
I love the scene where they're like, Star-Lord's like, put it away, I'm not going to ask you again. And then he's like, I'm Groot. And Drax is like, oh my god. Like, even Drax is like blown away with whatever he just said.
That's great. And then also, Thanos speaks Groot. That's the little kicker too, right?
Thor. Thor speaks Groot. You said Thanos.
Yeah, sorry. A lot of T's and H's, mix them together.
Yeah, which, as we go to like the next area, one thing I want to talk about is why did Scarlet Witch not have an accent in this movie all of a sudden?
Good point. Yeah. And also, I mean, they're like her tie with Vision is so random. Like that, the love story there felt very forced.
It does in the movies. It's a prominent part of the comic books.
Okay. Because it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I felt the same way. I was like, all right, we're in Scotland. They're together. I'm like, I enjoyed the depth of looking at them into, but it was definitely like, I was like, did I miss something? I was like, did I like skip ahead in the movie or something? I was like kind of a little confused.
It feels like something they wanted to take from the comics very last minute.
Yeah.
But I think they're also trying to set up WandaVision, but I think they didn't know if they were going to get that show maybe, so maybe they figure out like, oh, we're going to be able to make the show, start putting the relationship in now. Even if it doesn't fully add up, but I mean, they kind of lead into it. There's something there, but she's especially because Civil War, she is not super into him. He's into her.
They definitely have a connection. Like, I understand, but I understand what Adam's getting at.
It felt forced for sure in the movies.
No, it was like oh, friends. Ooh, I was like, oh, okay, more than friends. All right, they're more than friends. We missed the transition.
And then he's like, you're gonna have to kill me. That's like a common theme. That's like a common theme in this movie, though. I mean, it happens with Gamora and
that's a good point.
Star-Lord, right? I mean, it's like everybody's like, yeah, you're gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to finish me. You're like, why? Like Thanos is just gonna wipe out half of us anyway. Yeah. Like, why do I have to kill you?
Yeah, why can't you just like maybe die by him and not make me have a bad conscience?
It makes sense for the stories of that they're trying to build in the way that Gamora knew where the Soul Stone was. The only person in the universe who knew where the Soul Stone was, and so she had the knowledge, so she had to die. I think I get what you're saying for her. I think for Vision it made the most sense because Thanos, that stone had to be destroyed in Vision's head. And if Thanos got it, it was over, which he does end up getting it. Spoiler alert for probably 30 minutes from now. But he gets it, and I think that was one thing of, like, he had to die. Like, Wanda's the only one who could do it because she was made from the same stone that's in his forehead. Mm-hmm. And so I understand what they were doing there. It does feel it is a recurring theme of like a loved one has to kill a loved one.
Right.
That happens a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was with good reason. It does happen a lot, but I think they had their reasons for each time.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I did like when
Yeah.
they were in Switzerland though, and like looking at the TV, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go," and she's like, "No, don't go." And then boom, the minions
Yeah.
are on them like instantly, and they're like, "Oh crap! Well, I guess we can't even decide.
Yeah,
I guess we're
before
just
that-
in it now."
Before that, I want to talk about the scene where it's the Maw and what's the one? Called Obsidian, and they're attacking New York. And we get
Do we know their names really? Because I read up on their names, but I never even like. Did they mention their names?
they only
in the
mention the Maw.
Okay,
but
they don't mention
which one is he?
People.
The Maw is Squidward.
Squidward.
Okay, that guy's creepy as heck.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
The
He's
Maw is
scary
Squidward.
too.
And then I knew Proxima Midnight going into this movie just from like reading a few comics here and there. I had no idea about Corvus Glaive and Cull Obsidian. So those were two that, if I'm looking this way because they're on my monitors, I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
Because they're right next to me.
No.
Blink twice. Blink.
What's up-
Oh my
what's up,
gosh!
Corvus?
He's got all the stones.
But I love that scene because we get the Tony Stark calling him the Moss Squidward. We get Spider-Man coming in and being all Spider-Man-y, which I love the amount of times in the scene that he gets hit and like yells and like a distant scream as he gets hit the other way. Like the amount of like as he gets thrown away.
Or like when he's like going through the time or whatnot, and he's like just like kick from here, punch from there. No, I definitely enjoyed Spider-Man's part in this movie.
He's
Like,
hilarious.
It was just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ned got like 2 seconds on the bus where he's like, make a distraction. It's like, oh
Yeah,
my god,
slapping his face.
there's a alien ship over there.
Yeah.
Which leads
It
to
was like,
Stan Lee's cameo, the bus driver.
Yes.
Yep. That's crazy. What, you guys never seen an alien ship before? That was great.
I love that fight. 'Cause I love that also they have Bruce Banner who's like, he can't turn into the Hulk because the Hulk got his ass kicked by Thanos.
I hate Mark
He
Ruffalo.
used to have his little big green man problems.
Yeah. Well, I understand
Ragnarok,
where
he
the Hulk is coming from.
can't be Bruce Banner. In Infinity War, he can't be the Hulk. It's like,
Yeah.
jeez,
Can't.
Mark.
Yeah, just get it together, Mark. Just choose.
I just love the idea
hate
that the
him
Hulk
so
got his
much.
ass kicked so easily. Like Thanos didn't even like bleed, didn't even like
Oh, yeah.
get out of breath, kick the Hulk's ass, and Hulk was just like, "Then I'm done.
Yep.
No more. I'm out."
He's like, no more. I'm done. I'm out of here. Sorry.
And I like that dynamic. And I think one thing I didn't notice about this podcast so far is that there's so much to talk about. If we jump around a lot, we're gonna do that. And I'm sorry, but this movie is
It's everywhere.
like 2.5 hours of insanity, nonstop
Yeah.
insanity, and we only have like 45 minutes to talk about it.
Right.
But
yeah.
I mean that scene is. I mean, I like that we get the introduction of Spider-Man. We get them coming for the time stone. We get Wong saving Tony's life by throwing Cull Obsidian into Antarctica or whatever the fuck he sent him.
Right.
But it was an awesome little like, it was like a little play with Spider-Man too. He's like,
Yeah.
the kid seen more movies than you or something like that. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's all based off like what silly sci-fi movies or whatever.
Yeah. And
well, yeah, all the
I
pop
like the
culture
scene where-
references.
Yeah, all the
Yeah.
pop culture references. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's what it was. Yeah. So.
that scene is just great. That the introduction of all his characters, and like I said, none of it felt forced. Everything felt so natural.
And it also felt like every character didn't have their it's gonna be pretty hard to have every character do their own thing in a movie
Yeah.
like this. I mean, and like Adam said before, like Avengers, like the first Avengers was kind of like a big mash. So, I don't know, not to talk too much about the movie, but like I didn't feel like everyone had their like say like or like their feel to it. In this movie, it's like you watch Spider-Man. Spider-Man has his quirks. You see Spider-Man, Iron Man, and they have their little relationship. You know, you see a lot of these like different things. You see Thor and Hulk's relationship. You know,
Yeah.
it's a lot of. I feel the movie did a really good job in the sense of like just keeping the individual characters' story in line while jumping from character to character, right?
I love
and also meshing them too.
Yeah.
Real quick, I was going to say, I love the tone of this movie as well, because it's serious, and I think it's a kind of a callback to like Iron Man 1 and the Hulk, like where you have this kind of fun element, but it's a very serious movie. You know, like when Tony gets put on the ship and he has that call from Pepper, you know, like that was like hard to listen to.
Yeah.
She's like, come back now, and he's like, I can't. Like I'm stuck here now, and I thought they lost their way a little bit with that, especially in Ragnarok. Ragnarok felt a little weird. I didn't like the sister villain. She was like so joking. Like her jokes were not good, and she looked kind of like a deer.
Even like her little crown. Yeah, she did look like a deer. She did.
But I think they nailed it with this movie, with the level of comedy and just like the playful nature, but it also being very serious.
Yeah, this was a lot of people's favorites. Like, a lot of times I see people make their lists on social media of, like, top Marvel movies. Their number one is usually this movie. People love the way that this movie brought in these heroes, brought in together. Because, like, Endgame is a good way to wrap up the story. This was a good way to, like, almost like the climax of that story. Like, the ending. Like, the big fight. Yeah. And everything you get out of it. I mean, you get so many heroes that you love and that you've been watching for so long. Team up with heroes that you love and you've been watching for so long. Like, it's something like
it's like a wedding, new, right? It's like all your best friends are there, and you're like, oh my god, this best friend can meet this best friend, and how would they interact with each other?
Like that's a very good point.
The best way I can equate it was, do you guys remember as kids they had the Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron crossover episodes?
Yes,
the
of
Jimmy
course
Timmy
I
Power.
did.
That's what I think.
Power Hour.
It was
Timmy Power Hour. Yeah.
It was that thing of like these heroes, these characters you love, meeting these characters you love that feel separate but work together, and you're like,
yes, why
was this? This is amazing. This works. Like, it's perfect. And like, I think one of my favorite things is when we get Thor and the Guardians together, and it just makes sense. There's nothing amiss about that. Like that, the relationships there, everything worked. I mean, Star-Lord kind of like envy of Thor for his being so just Chris Hemsworth attractive, and Rocket and their relationship with Tree and Rabbit. Like, he calls him Tree and Rabbit instead of Groot and Rocket. Like, I love the way the relationship there. It worked so perfectly. I think that, like, I mean, this movie was meant to be, obviously, because the way Marvel did it was making all these movies, like we said, you had to watch through some of the shitty ones to get to this. It just worked. It just worked. So
no, it definitely did. Like the characters like together and the relationships, like that was a fun journey in this movie, was it not? Like, it just seeing like how especially with teenage Groot reacting, like you said, it's like you saw like you said Dax like even getting confused by Groot's
I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?
Yeah, Drax was great in this movie. I like the
why is Gamora?
I like the part where Tony is talking to Drax and Mantis. And he's like, "What do you guys even do?" And then she's like, "We're here to kick names and take ass." And Tony just breaks, and you just see him like, "We're gonna die." Like, that look on his face, like we're all gonna die right now because we were like, these idiots.
He's like, this is who I'm with right now.
Yeah, he's like, "Are you kidding me?"
Like that scene where Star-Lord's like, so that Footloose comes up, and Star-Lord's like, "It's still the greatest movie ever?" And then Spider-Man's like, "It never was." And Star-Lord's face is like,
he's like, "What do you mean?"
It's offended. He's offended.
Yeah, I love it. Everything just worked so perfectly. And even Doctor Strange and Iron Man. I think it's funny that you have two actors who have played Sherlock and now superheroes.
That isn't... Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I think one thing that made it interesting was that they're both those, like, that person out of, like, the alpha male leader, but also kind of a jackass. Like, they're both kind of jackasses. You love them for it, but they both are. So when it meets, they're just, like... It's a good combination. I just think it worked so well. And it was funny watching them kind of be like, who's the bigger man type of situation.
Yeah. No, watching that little dynamic was definitely interesting. Like, who's gonna win? Who? And I think we all knew. who the bigger man was.
I kind of wish Star-Lord's character like became more godlike in this movie. That was the only thing that I was kind of missing from him, because he's still just his Star-Lord in his suit, which is awesome, right? I mean, he's a very fun character, but after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where you have the whole backstory with him and his dad, and like you realize like actually how powerful he is, I felt like that was underplayed. I mean,
he lost his power when Ego was destroyed.
Right.
He doesn't have those abilities anymore.
Like he has him a little bit, right? Isn't that the kind of the end of Guardians? Doesn't he have little zaps of it for a second, or did he lose it fully?
I think it's gone. I think once Ego's destroyed, it's gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. I just assumed that it was fully. It was kind of like it was something that maybe we touched on later on.
I guess that makes sense. It'd probably be too much too. I mean, to throw in him also being a god in this movie on top of everything else that's going on.
Yeah, especially when you have a villain like Thanos, you can't have anyone even come close to him, or else this movie doesn't work.
Right.
And so if you have a Star-Lord that is super powerful with a planet's strength behind him, like it's not going to work out fully, I think. So I think that's also one reason they took it all away.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, going back to it, but it's interesting though, because it's like that is, I guess, like what Thanos is trying to do, right? He's trying to become
Yeah.
a god, and like I forget who says it. Like I don't know, someone says the line, but like he says you're not a god, or something.
It's
you'll
Loki.
Never be.
Loki says
Loki,
you will
right?
never be a god, and then he kills him.
Yeah. So that was in the beginning.
Yeah.
That was a really heavy line in the beginning, and that was like, and it just, I guess, showed you right there and then what Thanos' like main plan was going to be, and kind of yeah, that's what it was, and we got to see the venture of him attempting to be that god.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that he never said it, because like he obviously does like want to be like a god.
Yeah.
But in his mind, he's almost a martyr. Like he's the hero that's cursed with the knowledge that the universe is overpopulated.
Yeah.
And he plays it off like you can see that like he does want to be that god, but he makes it seem like when he says it outward, he makes himself believe that he doesn't want to be a god, even though you can tell like subconsciously he wants to. Sorry, this beer is really high in alcohol percentage. I'm on an empty stomach, so I'm not making sense.
Oh no, you're good. I think it's a good point though. Honestly, that's like it's a weird dynamic, because in most of these movies, you know that like, all right, this guy wants power. Like you understand kind of what the hero kind of really wants, or not the hero, the villain wants. But it's really interesting because like Thanos, it's like you said, he's gifted. What he wants is almost what he doesn't want. It's like a weird conundrum. Like he said, he has this knowledge that he almost says he doesn't want to have, that he has to take away half the universe, but like clearly he's doing it. So it's like does he really not want to do it? It's a really deep battle between himself that we get to just watch through this movie, I guess, and then maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, because it seems like he just has an objective, and that's all he wants to do, and he doesn't want to surpass that. Whereas a lot of other villains we've looked at want to become the supreme ruler of the universe, but he's there. Like he is at that level, and like once you've achieved that, like there's nowhere else to go. So like he just comes up with one goal to eliminate half of all life, and then he's basically retiring after that. There's that one scene. They're like, "What are you gonna do? Like, what's the point?" He's like, "Oh, I can finally relax. Like I could go see my kids. Hang out."
Yeah.
Go watch it.
Go watch the game. Yeah. Go watch the game with my boys.
One thing I wanted to bring up was, I don't know if you guys know this, but in the original Thanos comic book, so they did many iterations as they have done with comics. One thing that they did with Thanos, the original Thanos story, was that he wanted to collect the stones because he was in love with the physical manifestation of death itself. And so he wanted to impress her by collecting the 6 Infinity Stones, snapping his fingers, and killing half the universe. And so that was the original, in the comics, the original reason that Thanos wanted the stones. So that's one thing that stayed over these years, and that was a long time ago, the original, old comics. But he originally wanted to impress death itself, the human equivalent, or the physical manifestation of death.
Okay.
And I think that kind of, they didn't obviously do that in this movie, but you can see where, I like where they took the inspiration from, because in this movie they didn't take the fact that he's trying to kill people. They took the fact that they made it trying to save people. I like the way they kind of made that change. I'm sure the comics later, people can correct me on social media, but I'm sure the comics that they drew from, they did that. But I think it's interesting that in this series, in these movies, he's trying to save people. He's trying to help people. And he says to Gamora, he's like, look at what your planet is now. People are thriving. Kids are being born who don't know hunger, who don't know what it means to be overpopulated, who don't know what it means to not have food. And I just think that was just the way they were able to make that connection and draw from, not really draw from the original comics, but still kind of pull that same feeling, he did it out of an emotion of love. He did it out of love for, in both series, even though it's not the same kind of love. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like the glass half full.
Fuck, this thing is killing me right now.
No, it makes sense. But it's definitely it's not the. That's one part I really enjoyed about Thanos' character, is that how real it is connected to some real life actual evil people that have actually had this have maybe done these things, that have maybe eliminated many people and genocide and all that stuff like that. And that's what some people were thinking, really. They thought they were doing the best. They thought they were doing, and that's kind of it kind of gives me chills when I say that, because it's creepy, because it's kind of that's. In the way Thanos presents it, you're like, oh, okay, it kind of makes sense. And then in the real world application, you're like, hell no.
Yeah.
Hell freaking, no. but it's like
You can see how people buy into this warped perspective.
Yeah.
And how people believe
I mean,
that that's what should happen.
Yeah.
And even like we said at the beginning, the audience kind of does too. Like, you don't outright, like, you don't look at him the way you look at Ironmonger. You're like, you are a bad guy through and through 100%. You look at him and you go, I get it. It's wrong, but I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. It's like it's wrong, but I'm like I get it. Like I'm just doing a lot of this. Like, you're like okay, all right.
Like, I wouldn't do it, but
he's like your cousin you kind of like, but your friend. He's not good. He's not a good guy. It's like, oh god.
He's family.
He's family. Yeah.
So for you guys, what's a moment in this movie that, like, what's your favorite part of this movie? Like, what's
Big Little Peter. Sorry, Adam. I had to cut you off there.
All right, and we'll have Adam go first, Chris. You can contain yourself.
I said Big Little Peter.
No, have Kris go first
Peter?
so I can think.
Big Little Peter.
Is that your favorite scene?
Dinklage. Big Little Peter Dinklage?
Yeah, Big Little Peter Dinklage.
No, that's not my favorite.
What's his name? What's his name in this movie though? He's
It's the dwarf something.
It's not Mormir or something.
No, it's like
right?
no. They go to Vormir. He's
Vormir, okay.
His name's like Tiri or something like that, or Nitri or something. Whatever. Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
He's great. That was a fun surprise watching this movie of seeing Peter Dinklage being in the MCU canon as the giants, but also they call them the dwarves, but the giants who make the weapons from Nidavellir.
That's the
Nidavellir is the dying star that they make. They made Mjolnir from, and now Stormbreaker, and the Gauntlet, which we find out, which is a crazy scene.
Yeah. That's very, very intense. I let Adam take the serious question away because I'm gonna look through my notes.
No,
I just wanted to say that.
I think
Big Little Peter.
I think my favorite part was the mini Drax scene where he's like or it was Gamora and Star-Lord talking to each other. And then, and then they look over and he's just, what was he eating or something? He's like right next to him, and they're like, he's like, how long have you been there? He's like, an hour.
An hour?
An hour?
Like, what? Yes. It's like, I can move so slow, you can't even see me. He's like, I see you right now. I'm like, no, you don't.
And then was it Mantis comes in? Hello, Drax, and he's like, damn it. Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
I mean, honestly, I'm looking through my notes and I just gotta say, like, maybe like favorite one, which it's a personal one. I don't know if it's probably not, it doesn't like it's not the most important one for like the story.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. I asked what your favorite moment is. Not that important.
It's very small. It's at the end. It's when Peter Spider-Man is disintegrating right in front of Iron Man.
Oh yeah.
It's a really emotional. It's a really emotional part. I really enjoy Iron Man and Spider-Man's dynamic.
Yeah.
I really enjoy like the weird fatherly kind of like relationship, and I've always loved that relationship with them. And that's one scene at the end, which everyone's getting all everyone's leaving and all that, vanishing. And I was just like, crap. I really emotionally was pulled into that one because Peter's like, I don't want to go, and you're like, oh, dude, that got
that's
me.
Tough.
When
he
said I don't want to go, and it's like you can see it in fucking excuse my language. You can see it in Tony's face. It was hard to see that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That was to me was like a really,
and you can see he's fighting too. Like a lot of the people just kind of vanish.
No, he's trying
like without anything, but he's.
Sense. I think he was sensing it before it happened that he was going to go.
That's okay. I didn't think about that. Okay. Yeah, that's probably my the Drax scene is
a good one.
Is so funny. That's a great scene.
I think for me, my favorite scene is when Thor gets Stormbreaker, and you go back to the battle in Wakanda, and they're starting to lose. Everything's starting to go bad. Black Panther's being overrun. The Hulk and the Hulkbuster shit's being overrun, and then Thor comes in. That was amazing. He uses the Bifrost. Because the Stormbreaker controlled Bifrost lands with Teenage Groot and Rocket, and he's just like, bringing me Thanos, and jumps in the air with Stormbreaker. The lightning's hitting, and you're just like, oh shit! That was such a cool moment, and that was like, no matter how many times I see this movie, it's 15, 20 times now I've seen this movie, it still makes me smile. I was just sitting on my couch just the other day, just like, I love it when he comes in with the Stormbreaker, and I like the scene where Thor and Captain America are talking in the battle, and Thor's like, I see you copied my beard. And then Thor's like, this is my friend Tree. And then he's like, I'm Groot. And Steve's like, I am Steve Rogers.
And Groot's like holding like 4 guys
He's
on
like
his arm or
impaled
something like that.
like 4 bodies on his arm.
Him sacrificing his arm to make the handle for
that was pretty intense. Yeah.
That was intense. That was crazy. That
He'll
was
grow
cool
it
as
back.
hell.
He's fine.
That's what I'm saying.
He did. He grew back.
It was a growing movie for him to see Thor and think like, if he wouldn't even like look up from his game, even when Thor's trying to restart the dying star, he didn't even look up from his game. But Thor's dying, and that's when he finally is like, maybe I should try.
It's like this is my effort time right here.
Yeah, he's a Guardian of the Galaxy, man.
Yeah, but we don't know too much about Groot, right? We just kind of just know that he's Groot. We didn't really. Yeah. He's kind of like the enigma of that group, right? Which is weird because they're all enigmas. He's enigma of enigmas.
They're all weirdos and freaks who don't fit their societies, who come together and are just weirdos.
Yeah, band of misfits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As far as this movie goes, I mean, there's just so much to talk about that we're not going to cover everything. But I mean, Chris? I want to know how this movie fits in, and like how you folks. I know when I saw this at a premiere, I lost my goddamn mind. And Adam, I'm going to ask you the same question after, but Chris, when you saw this movie, seeing this movie for the first time and kind of coming through the series, how did you feel about everything? From Thanos getting the stones to snapping away life to where did you come away from this movie?
I felt not in a to detract from any other movie in a way, but this did exactly what it's supposed to do. It was supposed to be a culmination of a lot of those stories, and this was supposed to be a banger. You know, this was supposed to be exactly what it was, and I felt like that. Like after ending this movie, seeing Thanos's character development and just who he is, watching him get the gauntlet, watching the power of the gauntlet. Like, it was like, holy crap, this is a lot. This is like, everything I thought I knew was big is minuscule.
Yeah.
It's literally, is this. Because now everything is all about Thanos. It's all, I gotta concentrate on him. And so it's like really interesting to see, like I said earlier, like how all the movies that were just, they're 2.5-hour movies, they're blockbuster movies.
Yeah.
They're when they come out, they're multi-million, $100 million like film budget. They're big films. And then, you have this one individual film which has the pressure to carry them all into like one pot of soup. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. I felt like that soup tasted good. Like that's I'll put it simply put. I felt like it tasted like really good, and I also, in a way, it left me to like want some more. Like like at the end of the day, like I don't want to get. Like, do you want me to touch a little too much of my feeling at the end of it too? Because I don't want to get too.
We'll get to the end. We'll get.
I was saying, like, I'll let Adam.
We'll
Adam give his take.
Yeah, Adam. Same question. Like, how did you feel when you? Cause I know you've seen this before, but how does this movie when you leave it? How do you feel?
Very apprehensive because it feels like everybody's there, but nobody's working together, and everybody is like right at the end of their own personal struggles, and now they all have to come together again, even though they don't want to. Like when they were talking about calling Captain America at the beginning, Tony's like, no, I can't. Like, we're not at that point anymore. Like too much has happened even to the point where we can't come together to save everything. Like it's very, it's like it's hard to watch because it's like hard to watch like your best friends fighting. Like guys, like you have to come together for this one last time. Avengers, Revengers, whatever. But
do you feel like they weren't gonna come together though? I'm sorry to cut you off.
It just felt like there wasn't enough time, like for them to actually like formulate something because of the pace of this movie. It starts so instantly that like if they're not in it from the beginning, then they're all just gonna get picked off one by one, and that's kind of how the Hulk is struggling. Like he can't be the Hulk. Iron Man, even with his new nanotech suit, Thanos just like shreds it like instantly, and there's like nothing that he can do. He's the only one that can make him
bleed.
Right, all that for a drop of blood.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that? Wouldn't you say that's like kind of like what's supposed to be like the way the movie is going though, or whatnot? Like, is it not supposed to be?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like,
it's just it has a very different read from like the first Avengers movie. That's very fun and like everybody's coming together. Yeah. They're all super powerful. They're throwing Captain America off off his shield and everybody's falling. And, a new Iron Man suit. Oh God! But I mean this is like it's it feels kind of like the last Harry Potter movie, where you're like, oh my god, what's actually like? It's a very dark tone.
Yeah, okay. I definitely understand where you're getting with that now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, even that line. I remember watching the trailer, and you get the voiceover like dread it, rum from it, destiny comes all the same, and you're just like these lines that you're coming to you, and you've been watching these movies and you're falling in love with these characters, and then to see them lose in this movie. That's the whole point of this movie is that Thanos wins, and it's the first time we ever see our heroes down. It wasn't Captain America like, we did it, gang. Right. Go America. It was like, we lost. And you see it. I think the last shot of the movie is Captain America sitting on the ground just like, oh my god, what has just happened?
Yeah.
And it took that, like you said, we have the Avengers, the first one. It's fun, it's quippy, it's like, haha, they're eating shawarma now, to them literally half the universe.
And half of them are dead.
Gone.
Yeah.
Captain America just sitting on the ground, half dead, like, what just happened? Like, they can't even... Like, how do you even comprehend that half the universe is just snapped out of existence? Like,
right, and you don't even know who it is. I mean, like, Tony's on the ship, like, by himself, and he's like, was Pepper in that half? Was... Like, who else is left? Like, what's there left to save at that point? And, like, I remember the one scene where Strange is trying to conceal the time stone, and Tony's there, and then he's like, all right, here's the stone. This is literally the only way. And Tony's like, no way is this the only way. I mean, later you find out why. Yeah. But, like, in that time, you're like, so is there actually not a way? Like, did you look at all the infinite possibilities and we lose in every single one?
And this was
that's a very harsh reality.
Yeah. And I think, like you were saying, it's a harsh reality. But the fact that this harsh reality was, like, just you hope. And you end this movie just hoping, like, this was the one? Because the way Doctor Strange says it, he's like, there was no other way. And you leave the theater, like... Because I'm not going to talk about Endgame because, Kris, you haven't gotten there yet. But I remember leaving the theater of Infinity War going, like, was this the one? Like, maybe this is the way. Maybe Doctor Strange knew, like, he had to give up the stone to Thanos. And it doesn't really make sense, though. But... I remember when they were sitting there and like, oh, we're not going to give you the name of the last Avengers because it's a spoiler for it. The last one. They ended up calling it for Infinity War. They ended up calling it Endgame, which I don't think is a spoiler for Infinity War in any way, so I'm not sure why they said that. But... Well,
they even say it in the movie.
Like
Stephen Strange says we're in the Endgame now.
Yeah,
that was it. I think that's the spoiler of like, kind of giving away like, maybe this is the one. Of, we're in the Endgame. Doctor Strange saying we're in the Endgame now, implying like, keep going, like we're on the right path.
We're
so far.
here.
Just keep going.
Yeah, we gotta keep like pushing through, or else like, what is all this for? That's kind of like the feel. I do want to touch on like when the Guardians of the Galaxy and they were and Iron Man, and Spider-Man, they're all like they're on Thanos and about to get like get the gauntlet off his hand. I think the whole thing with Star-Lord was just weak.
Yeah.
I just really think I understand maybe it was like a human element kind of thing, but it's like it's just for what we watched and what everything that's gone on and all that, it just seemed like, dude, get your stuff, get your crap together, man. Like this is like so much bigger.
I would have rather like the minions come in and like get the girl off his head and then he like he comes back instead of just some petty sure he's mad, but if he does that, he's gonna make it worse, and he's responsible. He's accountable at the end for that.
Yep.
Yeah, which I gotta admit, I haven't liked Star-Lord since that moment when I saw that in theaters. Which, going back and doing this podcast, I rewatched the movies, and I didn't like him as much. Like, I didn't want to say anything in the episodes because I didn't want to spoil anything. But like, because of that moment, I didn't like him as much. And
in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you're talking about like when we did the podcast. Yeah. Okay,
and I think that parallel draws the fact that earlier in the movie, Thanos or Drax sees Thanos. What we think is he's interrogating the Collector, and Drax is like letting emotion take him. He's like, I'm gonna kill Thanos because he killed my family. And Star-Lord stops him. He's like, you just need to hold on. Put that emotion aside and just hold on. And he couldn't even do that.
Yeah, you're right.
Later in the same movie, he couldn't even do the same thing, and it made me just hate his character because Peter Parker's got that thing up. Spider-Man has the gauntlet off his hand, and Star-Lord just held on for two. And I think that's the whole reason they did it. As an audience, you're supposed to be like, come on. Yeah, and then he doesn't get it, you're like, oh, shit. Like,
you're so close.
And then he just grabs the gauntlet and, like, pulls it back, like, immediately.
Yeah. Which I just did the effort, like, 6 times in a row. It's going to be a hell... Sorry for the audio listeners going to hear bleep, 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 bleep.
I thought that. I was like, ooh.
Sorry for the Spotify, iTunes listeners are gonna hear bleep 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 bleep, but
Just play like a little tune or something.
yeah, but that's how you feel. You watch that movie and you're just like, no, please. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, they had it.
Yeah. And it was obviously you understand like Gamora. Obviously, Gamora is like his love
Yeah.
and whatnot, and it's like also it's just like Thanos' daughter, and it's like but it was. I was like, no, man, you're so close.
Yeah, which I
Plus,
know
there's nothing he can do about it. It's not like he's about to go, sacrifice Gamora. It's like it's already happened.
Yeah, and
he's just getting mad about something. Yeah, was he just gonna punch him?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think we kind of jumped over the scene, but when Thanos kills Gamora, because you have to, first question, sorry, I need to go on the whole thing. First question, Kris, how did you feel seeing the Red Skull pop up on Boromir?
I was like, oh, this guy again? Yo, this guy came back? I was like, holy crap, alright, Nazi man, let's go. That's honestly how I felt. That's how I felt.
I was in the theater at the Midnight Fair, and he takes off his hood, and the whole theater just went, what?
Yeah. That's exactly how it was. I was like, okay, alright.
But
yeah, him.
Yeah, it was
like,
so random. But one thing I think about that scene is that you look at, and Gamora's like, you don't love anything. Like, you lost. You finally lost. Like, your lack of love has finally caught up to you. I wonder what the stone needs, because I don't think that Thanos really loved Gamora.
I don't either.
He did in his own way, and maybe that was enough. But I wonder what the ruling is, because when you see, like... Never mind, I was about to spoil a huge moment in Endgame.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna cut you.
Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, I'm gonna stop. But I don't think Thanos, like, really loved her in the way that maybe... I don't think what should have been enough to get the stone. Obviously, for the story, it had to be. The story had to keep going. He had to get the stones. But I don't think that he really loved her in the same way that, like, of something I want to spoil.
Yeah, I mean, like the way I felt it was like, obviously it wasn't my, like, or the other people's version of love or whatnot.
Yeah.
But it made me think, like, what is love? It made me no, it made me think, like, what is love? Like, in this universe of superheroes, where, like, there's there are all these powers or whatnot, and, like, obviously we're watching some superheroes have emotions, but sometimes, like, these people are, like, godlike, and they don't have, and their emotions are kind of very much sidelined, and that's, like, going back to Star-Lord, like, that's what a huge flaw of quote unquote human characters in a lot of the Marvel series or whatnot. But it's just like, maybe I'm not trying to, like, give him an excuse, but maybe Thanos does actually love Gamora, and I don't know if I actually, like, think this, but that's something I was, like, pondering, is that maybe in his mind this is what love is, and this is, like, even though for us that's not love at all, but for him that's like deep love for him, and maybe that's what the Soul Stone needs. The Soul Stone, it isn't like what we perceive as love. It's like whatever the sacrifice, or whoever does the sacrificing, which is Thanos. If they feel like they lost something they loved, that's when the Soul Stone unlocks itself. That's kind of how I perceived it, as someone who doesn't really know, going too much into, like, I haven't seen any of the movies after this, so maybe we get more into it and I understand more. But that's how I perceive that. Yeah, it was cheesy. It's like, that's your daughter. No, okay.
So it hurts when you see, because, like, you want to hope that she doesn't die, but then you see her laying there and you're like, it hurts.
She had the whole like, when the arms are like that, like chicken winged and all that. It's not good.
Chicken winged, Jesus. Adam, how did you feel about that? Just to move past being chicken winged.
Yeah, I don't know. I get it, like, because it was all Thanos had. It was his only real, attachment to anything besides his drive for this, this quest. Like, that and Gamora are, like, the only things he had. I feel like their relationship was very downplayed, especially in the throwback scene to when he's on her world and he, like, leads her away and she's like, oh no, actually this is fine, and he's like, oh, look away, shush, and like, I mean, that just felt a little kitschy to me. I wished that it would have been something more dramatic there, I mean, Gamora obviously is kind of the link between Thanos and everybody else. You know, like she's kind of the leak on all the stuff that comes out about him. She gives everybody, you know, insider information. Is kind of always against him, and so it just felt very downplayed.
Yeah. So as we kind of get toward like the last 10 minutes or so of the show, we get toward like the end of the movie, and when we see these characters being snapped out of existence, I think I want to know for you guys how you felt. But I think for me the hardest one was Black Panther going up to Okoye saying, "This is no place to die."
Oh, yeah, that was.
And
hard
as he
one,
reaches
too.
for her arm, she grabs him, and
Yeah.
he just slips away.
And she's so confused. She's
Oh my
so
God.
confused.
And I think for me, like I love her as an actress. She nailed it in Black Panther. She is phenomenal. And I think for me, besides as the only like, 'cause I'm gonna say the second I think hardest was Rocket Raccoon. Of the humans, she definitely had the hardest reaction. You can see so much pain on her face, and especially for me to lose one of my favorite heroes in the series. I mean, probably my second favorite hero in this entire MCU is Black Panther. To lose him and to see her crushed about it was so hard for me. But as far as you guys go, like what moment, like who did we lose that you guys like feel so much for? Because I know for me, like these scenes like felt these characters you love and have a connection to are gone. As far as we know, like they're gone. And
Yeah.
how did you guys take in that scene?
Adam, I'll let you take that.
They're all really hard to watch, but like it starts really hard with Vision for me when Thanos literally rips it out of his head, you know, and he's just there broken on the ground, and you
Lifeless.
see
The
you
color
see the
completely drained.
Yeah,
from him.
gray. Yeah.
and he's just because I mean he was never really a developed character. We never really got to see kind of his potential or his, you know, his drive. And we've known Paul Bettany for this whole series as Jarvis. You know, he's like the friendly background, quippy, you know, computer voice, you know, guy for Tony, kind of his rock. And to see that just instantly gone, and that's the one catalyst that starts everything else. I think that was the hardest one for me to watch.
That's a hard one. I didn't think about it too much into there. We watched Jarvis like from the beginning. Yeah, that's a. I mean, I told you guys earlier. I mean, you asked me earlier, Doug, what was my favorite scene? And I said the whole Peter Parker, you know, Iron Man things. I think going back into it, you know, Spider-Man, just kind of Evan is even though obviously Spider-Man wasn't a huge like part of the movie or whatnot, and like, he was here or whatnot, but like I don't know, I like their element just personally, or their characters together, and so watching one, you know, like kind of like a Black Panther situation, you know, he was with what's her name again? I forget her name.
Okoye.
Okay, yeah. So like, you know, it's kind of similar situation like that. It's like you watching a loved one.
Yeah.
But like the thing about, like, I mean, Spider-Man's relationship with the Iron Man is that they don't explicitly say they love each other. They're like, and I mean, Spider-Man I think would say he loves Tony, but Tony's very hardened, and it's like one of those things that because Tony's like, you know, one of the core. I don't mean to like oust other people, but I feel like he's one of the core Avengers, you know, or whatnot. So it's like, and I don't know, it just to me it was a really emotional scene.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that when Thanos snaps, Thor should have gone for the head. Thor attacks him and should have gone for the head. But I think it's interesting that our four main Avengers, the four Avengers we started out with, which I'm not spoiling game, but you know, this one scene at the start opens up. We have 6 Avengers: Black Widow and Hawkeye, both made it through the snap. Sorry, Kris, but that's what I'm gonna say. That the fact that all these core Avengers, of the Avengers from the 2012 film, all made it through the snap, I think that meant that for me was like somewhat of a comfort when, you know, everyone snapped away, it's done, and you see Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, and Captain America have all made it through, and you're kind of like, I'm a little, like, you feel a little bit of like a comfort in your heart, like, okay, like maybe this can be okay.
Yeah. So, like there's some foundation here. Like not all. Like there is a lot of hope that's lost.
Yeah.
A lot of it is lost. Half of it.
I mean, more than half. I mean, I think, you know, Thanos was supposed to snap away half of existence, but it looked like a lot more of those Wakandans were being snapped away than half. In that scene where you're in the field and you see the Wakandans and the Jabari tribe and all of them kind of being snapped away.
Well, I mean, maybe he just chose like at random half, and
yeah,
say like half, and say half Wakandans. You know, it's like.
Well, and another way that I read that too is like the half of all life, sure, very literally, but for everybody who else is alive, they're like only half of what they their like full potential. You know, Iron Man, he's by himself in this ship somewhere. He's not Iron Man.
Yeah,
you know, he's Tony floating away on a ship. You know, Captain America is. Yeah, it's like everybody left is fractured, and that's where, you know, where it is very comforting to see all those characters. That, you know, the Hulk, he can't even turn into the Hulk. He doesn't even know what's going on. Like,
it's a great scene.
He's got little man problems.
I think this movie was perfect in the way of, I only had one gripe, and it was back to what Adam was saying of Thanos ripping out the stone from Vision's head. Yeah. The only issue I had with this movie is that the stone is tiny in Vision's forehead. He breaks it, and the stone's all of a sudden huge. It's the biggest stone of them all, and he puts it right in the center of his hand. And I was like, what? In the theater for like 2 seconds. I'm like, that's a little weird. But
because it goes in the center, right? In the center socket?
Yeah, it's the big...
Yeah.
It's...
That socket's huge. Yeah, that socket's huge. I didn't
It was like
that.
this big in Vision's forehead.
Yes, yeah.
And then this big when he rips it out of his head.
Yeah, man, it's just deep in there. It was
deep. Reality can be whatever he wants.
If you're watching if you're listening to the audio version, go watch YouTube and watch me do this.
Yeah, look at that.
Because
look at that.
I just...
There's your thumbnail.
It's going to be clickbait. It's going to be a red circle blocking it out, and then you...
And we got a point for the thumbnail.
That's going to be the thumbnail now, by the way. I forgot where I was going. Sorry. Someone start talking.
No, but I mean, I don't know. I just you're finishing on the end of the movie, right? You're just talking about how like we all felt like everyone disappearing or whatnot.
Yeah.
I honestly, when that was happening, I was like, I'll do it for you. I was like, what the bleep? I honestly had no idea. I was like, that's a lot is going on right now. There's a lot, like, and I don't know. It just there's a lot that rides on, I think, these Avenger movies, obviously, and they gotta. I mean, the first one, like we were talking about, quippy and all that, and kind of.
Yeah.
I feel it was kind of hard to avoid that, really, with you know, with the way the movies are. But
at the end of this one, you feel shell shocked. You know, leaving every other Marvel movie, you're like excited for the next one.
Yes.
You know, you're not nervous about, oh my god, who's left. Like you just want to go back and look at all the little things, or you know, you're counting down the days until the next movie comes out to just to feel some semblance of closure.
Yeah.
It's left so open. You know, whereas the rest of the movies are dun 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 dun. You know, like they all end where everybody's coming together, everybody's getting stronger. In this one, everybody's broken. Mm-hmm. You know, and you're just left, in shock.
No, the shell shocked, I think, is a great word. Sorry to cut you off. Though.
No, go ahead.
That's exactly how I felt. I literally felt like a grenade went off in my room, and I was just like trying to find like the typical, like, I think. Probably you've seen it in Captain America, because, you know, just who he is. Like, they just like slow motion, like trying to find just like what the hell is going on right now.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I felt like in real time, which is crazy. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, which one thing I wanted to bring up toward the end of the show is I remember leaving the theater for this movie, and it was the only time I've left a theater, and it was silent, as if the theater was like in mourning. Because like when you go to a midnight premiere, they're all diehards.
Yeah,
like everyone in that theater was a diehard fan. It's a midnight premiere of a movie in Los Angeles. Like, we bought tickets 6 months in advance to be there, and people left the theater in silence. It was like they were mourning the deaths of these characters, and it felt wrong to talk. I was like, usually when a movie ends, my girlfriend and I, we talk out the whole movie, we talk about everything that happened, and I was like, I felt weird saying anything to her, because I was like, everyone is walking out of the theater in just dead silence, and it felt wrong to talk, because these diehards, these people who, you know, have read these comics, who love these characters, who their whole world is this world, were leaving. Like people were in tears, and I was like, I wasn't, because I was like, yeah, it's a movie. But not to judge
love it.
Yeah, not to judge
love it, though. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching Lord of the Rings in tears. That's my favorite thing in the world. But so to see these
Peter and Iron Man's like a little. I was like, I get emotional. I get it.
These people left in mourning, and that was one thing I wanted to bring up, and is that this movie ends on, it's the only, like Adam said, on such a dark note for a Marvel movie. Because like you said, every other movie ends with, now we have the power, we're a team, go America. And this one ends
Rogers.
This one ends in half the universe is dead, and that's it. That's what you get. Wait till the next one. And you're just like, fuck. Like, I don't
you're like, I guess.
Yeah.
That was no? Can I get a little more? Okay, I guess that's where we're at.
Yeah, it was almost too much, is the best way I can say it. This movie was almost too much. But I think is why it sits on most people's number one. Is there's not a lot of movies out there, especially superhero movies, that can leave you just dead speechless. And I think this was probably the only one I can think of any Marvel movie or any superhero movie, including DC, Marvel outside the MCU, Dark Horse, anything that left me just downright speechless at the end of, like, the second this movie, the credits were rolling, I couldn't say a word. I didn't know what to say at the end of this.
No,
but
it definitely felt that way.
Yeah, as we kind of roll into, we're hitting an hour here, as we're kind of rolling, as far as recording, as we're rolling to the end credit scenes, there's only one, and it's, I think, one of, like, it's very different. It's Maria Hill and Nick Fury being snapped out of existence from Thanos, which then we get an intro of, we get to see for a split second the pager Captain Marvel introduction.
That's what that. Okay,
that is a Captain Marvel logo. Introduction. Okay, that's her logo. That's her chest piece. Is that thing? Yeah.
Like, so that's Superman.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know what your guys' takes on that end credit scene. Adam.
Yeah, sure. And that's hard to watch too, because you're hoping for some funny quip at the end of the movie. You're some redeeming. I mean, not to say that it needs, not that this movie was bad and needs a redeeming quality, but like you're hoping that they leave you on some kind of fun or hopeful note, and they do, right? It's that it's very hard as a lay fan though to know that's what that is.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of fun if you do the research and you look up the end credit scene, because it does give you a little bit more hope for for the future of kind of restoring things to the way they were. It's a glimpse into the people who weren't there, and who could have stopped it and who can kind of fix the problem. But yeah, that was hard watching them just. He's like, oh crap, out of nowhere, because they weren't even there for the entire movie.
Yeah,
like I'm surprised that he wasn't included, but it's got to be hard, with this giant cast, such a big story to tell. There's only so much screen time for everybody, but I was glad they snuck it in there at the end.
Yeah. If it was like you said, Adam, it definitely looked like in a weird, when the movie's just all ending or whatnot, and there's all hope is kind of lost. It's a weird kind of like, it's a little bit of a fishing line, to reel us back in. Like, all right, maybe we got something here. Maybe we'll see what we got for the next few movies or whatnot.
It was a little bit of a bait and switch, though, I felt like, because right at the end you're like, oh, great, Nick Fury, maybe he's got a play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, maybe he was cooking something up this whole movie. That's why he wasn't with the rest of the gang, but now he's like, and then he's gone, too.
Goodbye, Nick.
Yeah, I also think one thing I took away from that end credit scene is how fast this whole movie happened, to a point where they're being snapped away. So it's been a while since the initial attack on Wakanda, and Maria Hill is just getting intel that there's things in Wakanda.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the movie happened so fast that even S.H.I.E.L.D., even Maria Hill, who's probably, next to Nick Fury, one of the most informed people in this universe, is just getting the intel that things are happening in Wakanda, and it's too late.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. like that. No, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, and she's obviously incredibly knowledgeable, like you said.
Yeah.
Attached to the S.H.I.E.L.D., and it's kind of like the shroud of Wakanda, right? Though, because it's supposed to be kind of like hidden or whatnot. Unless you're in the inn, you don't know what's going on in Wakanda, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and no one told them. No one told them about it. So, yeah.
It goes to show that, I mean, there isn't time to even reach out to other people. You don't have time to call backup in this movie.
Yeah.
You're thrown into it right away, like when Vision's in Switzerland and they're like, oh, should we go? And like, even in that split second of deliberation, that was, that, like, they're on him instantly. Like, there is no time to even look around and formulate a plan.
Yeah, which there's so much more I wish I could have talked about Vision, but as we're kind of rounding to the end of the show here, I'm going to jump into the beer. You guys are cool with that?
Yeah, for sure.
So this week we have the Gauntlet, which, as we all know, I drank out of the Gauntlet for the Gauntlet. This is an Imperial Oatmeal Stout with cocoa and peanut butter. It was divine. It is from Kern River Brewing Company, which is in Kernville, California, which is right on the outside of Sequoia National Forest. If anyone knows in California where that is, it's kind of like north of Los Angeles, but not like Northern California. I don't exactly know, but I've never been there. But their brewery, I'm looking at pictures, is gorgeous, amazing. I've said it before. We've had 2 stouts in a row, and I've loved both, which I never really like stouts. This is an amazing beer. It is a 10.5% alcohol by volume, and I mean, this thing was outstanding. This brewery, I mean, seems to do a lot of really good stuff. They are a restaurant as well. I'd go check them out. I believe they're open for to go and maybe some seating outside. They have 2 buildings right across the street from each other, but definitely check them out. They are this beer was outstanding. I mean, there's a lot of beers I think I've talked about with both you guys on the show before. This beer would be like with mango, and you don't taste mango, and you're like, why do you see it on the label? You taste the cocoa, you taste the peanut butter, you taste the oatmeal. It's like it all works beautifully. Which, like I said, I'm not a big stout person, but it's good. It works.
That sounds so nice.
It's so good.
Oh, nice.
I've been holding on this one for a while. It's a green wax on the top. That's why it's fading into. If you're watching YouTube, it's faded into the green screen.
It's pretty awesome.
It's really, really good. In Kernville, California, I'd recommend checking them out if you're gonna go check out the National Forest at all. Phenomenal beer, outstanding. I'm very happy I got to drink the Gauntlet from the Gauntlet. Got it downtown Disney in time. The time stone though fades in with the green screen, but it's perfect. Yeah, go check them out. They're a phenomenal company. I mean, I gotta say, probably my top 5 favorite beers we've had on this show, which is good because this is episode 36, so it shows how good it is.
That's crazy.
Yeah, too many episodes in a row.
Crazy. That's awesome. That is so awesome, though.
Yeah, before I wrap out the show, I just want to say next week, my dad will be on the show again to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp to round out the Ant-Man series. After the show is over, after we finish the Marvel Cinematic Universe at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, we're going to be taking a 1-week break. We will not be on that week. And then Dominic, Grace, and I are going to dive into the Shrek quadrilogy. So get ready for that. This MCU series has been fantastic. I'm so glad that, I mean, as far as the pandemic goes, obviously it's horrible, but the fact that I was able to get you guys on to be on the show with me, because you guys live all the way a few states over. So thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys being on the show as much as you guys have, and I hope you guys hope to have you guys on again in the future.
Oh, for sure. Bro.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks so much. Yeah, it's always so much fun, and I love this kind of scenario too, because you have so many good insights about like this universe that I never knew. Like the whole comic lore side and all the background research. And so yeah, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing about having you guys on is that you guys will point out a scene, and I'm like, I never thought of that. I never would have thought of it. I hadn't talked to you guys about it. So I appreciate that. And like I said, next week, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then Captain Marvel after that, and then Dom and Grayson will be on for the Avengers Endgame review. Then we'll wrap that out with Spider-Man Far From Home. So get excited for that. Keep watching. Keep listening. Remember, we are on YouTube. We are on Twitter and Instagram at ComicallyPod. So check us out there. Like and subscribe on YouTube. And just support the show. The more you guys support the show, the more we can do, the better beer we can have, and the longer this show can run. And so far, you guys have been doing a great job. We're a couple thousand, or over 1,000 listens, and a bunch on YouTube. So please keep supporting, keep watching, keep listening, and we'll keep having awesome guests on like these 2 guys right here.
Hey! That's big muscles, big Thanos muscles, not Chris Pratt muscles. It's not Chris Pratt muscles.
There's so much more I wish we could have talked about. This movie is expansive and deep and fantastic, but as far as this episode goes, I think that's it. Thank you guys again for last time for being here.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, really
glad to be here.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, adios.